It is Tuesday, August 24th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by your other host,
Mike Shalau.
I
wasn't sure if you were going to say my name or if I was
I was waiting.
Okay.
We still have to get that call and response kind of.
Yeah, it's a pretty smooth operation.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. And speaking of which, let me just get this cord out of the way. All right.
There's a whole song and everything. Good.
Yeah, I know. There's plenty of time for me to do that, but I didn't. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You had your anniversary special here.
Which now I'm realizing I didn't mention one time on this podcast that it was happening. But we had the anniversary party in the back room here.
And I missed the entire thing.
Yeah, we got in a big fight.
Yep.
And you said, I hate you so much, I'm taking my family camping. Which,
yes.
if you know Chris, is like the ultimate insult to me because he hates camping and so does his family.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
He's
entirely true.
So spiteful, he hurt himself in the process.
So how was it?
Good. It was like a steady stream of people. You always had the feeling of like, who's going to show up to my birthday party? Probably no one. And then people actually came. So,
good.
That's always good.
Very nice. And you brought 40 different beers.
47, I think, was the total, which is an
nice,
insane,
concise number of beers
to think. Yeah, and a fridge from Dylan's basement to put them in.
How many of the 40 got opened up?
That's a good question. I think we sold at least one of everything, but we were selling bottles to go as well. Mm-hmm. So I think there were a handful that didn't get like ordered to drink on premise, but were taken home by people.
Taken home?
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, camping wasn't as fun. I did go to Seeds though on the way back,
Great
which
brewery.
you told me about.
Yeah.
And someone else
Shout
told
out
me
to
about.
Ryan.
Yep, went there. Oh, you know him?
I stopped by, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was there on a Sunday, and interesting. They had, what did I have? I had the Hef, which was pretty good. They had a pale lager, dry hop lager, which I liked quite a bit. They had a lot of low. I wanted to get the Saison, but I didn't. And then there was the mild, which I tried as well.
Nice.
Yeah, interesting setup they have there. That they're going for pretty obscure styles, as we always complain that more places need to do. So,
right. Yeah, and he's like
cool.
decocting a lot of stuff, and it's very labor intensive, and he cares a lot about those beers. Everything's naturally carbonated too. So,
yeah, you could tell it took a while to. It was my first slow pour mild I ever had. I was kind of
you gotta have the slow pour mild.
I was kind of making fun of that whole concept, but it had like the meringue head on a mild, and I was like. Yeah, that's their thing,
right?
That's good for them.
At the anniversary party, we were doing slow pours of Wilby and Wilby with Brett, which are like our two like core beers. And I didn't think about it. And then the day before, I'm like, I should probably time how long it takes me to do this. And it was like 5 minutes to do it right. I'm like, well, that's gonna have to get sped up a little bit. So
yeah, would you just have stuff?
It
well,
just didn't get it sped up really. I just had to be able to know that there were people who were gonna come.
You just gotta wait.
Yeah. Tastes better when you wait. The best is when people would just like stand, because it wasn't like at the bar. They would just stand in front of the table and like, while I'm like
for 4 minutes.
No, it needs like another millimeter. It's got to be in between the was and the anniversary. That's how I know how much it should be in there. And people appreciated it, but I think I didn't need to go quite as hard as I.
And you could also be like what they do with Seeds, which is like, we'll bring it out to you.
Right.
And then you just be like, give them the little, move along now. We'll bring it out to
you. I did that a few times.
Yeah. And then yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
What else did I had some interesting beers while I was camping. We opened some old BCS on a humid 90-degree evening.
As one does, yes.
It was still pretty good. It was like a 2014. Hey, what's up? I didn't know we had a special guest here. Secret guest, huh? Nice.
I told him to crash it.
Okay, cool. He should. You guys will have to sit. If he wants to get on mic, we'll have to sit here. And we have an extra chair. It's almost like it was meant to be.
There's more chairs
All right.
over there, too.
Yeah. So we'll get Kreider set up in a moment. Just kind of pops into the back room. So we should probably start introducing our guests. We're doing a roundtable today.
Classics or,
Right.
or OG recipe
An
roundtable.
OG recipe. We have
Articles and everything.
It's true, and we have an OG roundtable member. I mean, I think everyone here has been on a roundtable before.
Voracious reader of the outline and
Mm-hmm.
the articles, always has been.
Yep. So let's introduce them because we do introduce people in order of seniority. So, Mr. Pat Berger, what's up, man? How are you?
Chris, I'm great. It's great to be back.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
We went from a beautiful studio to a
Shithole back room.
Yeah, it seems like I'm in the.
See, I told you can say bad words now.
We can say bad words now.
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
We've done it out in the back room, but then, I don't know. Would you prefer it back here or in the back room, Mike? When we're actually in the bar or here?
I probably like it here better. It's not as distracting.
Yeah, because people come in and they're like, "Oh,
bar.
wait," and then they kind of walk by, which is fine because it's a bar. But
It kind of killed the flow of my hot take rants.
I kind of like it more in the other room, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. It is, I guess, maybe because I'm less embarrassed back there because they don't see like what your closet looks like, essentially,
sure.
like your dirty laundry.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to keep all your clothes back here.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I'm kind of living in here now. So after the camping trip didn't go well.
Right. Why is there's like
Yeah,
one
I
of those
got
electric
kicked out of
kettles
my
that still
house.
has ramen noodles in it? Are
Yeah.
you doing okay?
No, that's what we're going to get into. That's what this whole thing. It's really an intervention for me that I'm calling for myself.
Right.
I'll tell you all about it, and then you can intervene. And then it'll end when one of you invites me to live with you for a while, and then I'll crash on your sofa. Cool.
I gotta go.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be introducing, talking to Pat though. So what's up, man? I like your nice and color coordinated with your Loyola gray and your Sierra hat gray, looking good.
Oh, I'll take any compliment I can get, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, I'm just everything's great. Just basking over here in your guys' co-hosting chemistry. It's
electric.
riveting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone listening? Hello?
No.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Where'd
Okay.
that tumbleweed come
Yeah,
from?
this is great. No, everything's good, man. You know, we're back to normal, aren't we? I don't know. It's all.
Totally normal. Everything's here.
I can
nothing
say
to
it's all fucked up now. Apparently, right?
Yeah, you can. We just have to write down when the curses are. And every time you curse, Serge has to go and mix it out. But it's fine. Don't worry.
Well,
He
Serge,
likes it.
keep
He
that-
likes doing extra work.
Keep
isn't
that pen
needed.
in your hand, my friend.
Yeah.
I got who's actually also writing down the words that we say when we say.
Okay.
All right, I will.
And
No
judging
more
us.
frivolous cursing from me. Then they will only be for exclamation.
Okay. All right. How's the new spot going? You got a new?
That's fucked.
Oh yeah.
No,
Good.
I'm just kidding.
Good to know.
Hit me real good.
I'm just kidding. Everything's great. The new spot's going great. It's exactly what we hoped it would be, and the neighborhood is responding very well. So
Awesome.
yeah,
That's great. Thanks for coming on.
thank you.
And can't wait to hear the well-reasoned, well-researched opinions you have about our topics. Moving on, we have
Seemed
Miss.
that seems sarcastic, doesn't it?
Seemed a
No,
little sarcastic. didn't it?
no,
Interesting.
maybe foresight.
Yeah.
Unlike your co-host, I read the fucking material.
Yeah.
Write that down, Sergio.
Yeah.
No.
Poor Serge. The next guest on the round table. It's nice. It's already. We haven't had a true
Off the
derailment
rails.
this early in a while, but it's good. We'll
I really
we'll
feel like I
right the
can't
ship.
say anything until you say my name, so please just introduce me so that I can. This is the longest
Averie
I think I've
Swanson
ever gone.
of keeping together.
Hey,
How are you? What's up? How you been?
I've been very well, thank you.
What have you
Living
been
the
up to
dream.
lately?
Making some beer,
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell some merchandise.
Where are you making beer now?
Well, I am really no longer making beer. I still have 3 packaging runs left before I am finished with production at the Half Acre Lincoln location, which has been sold to Hot Butcher, as I think everybody knows. So I'm kind of just feeling that out until those beers are packaged, and we've got releases scheduled through the end of the year. And then at that point, I'll be I'm already trying to figure out where I'll be next, but a far more concerted effort will probably be occurring at that point in time.
Okay. When do you think that's going to come? When do you think that time will come?
I really wanted it to be before the next winter, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it'll probably be in the spring of 2022.
Got it. So are your plans to do some brews between now and then here in Chicago?
No, probably not.
Okay.
I've been really happy with the way that the beers have been received here in Chicago, and
so therefore you don't want to brew anymore?
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I figure I'll end
sense.
on a high note and make my way.
Take your talents to.
Yeah.
Are you
Miami.
still going to do that? Are you still going to do that big kind of announcement, live stream where you're going to
Maybe.
tell
At
what
at
city?
the YMCA.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of really like teasing the folks on Beer Advocate because the comments on that thread are just gold. So I figured the less I say, the better those conversations are.
It's very fun when other people build your mythos for you.
Isn't that great?
It's
I've
hilarious.
really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Somebody left a comment that was like, I hope her next brewery is called Ghost Breakup Brewery. And I was like, I want to buy that person a beer. That is
What is
funny.
Ghost breakup.
I don't understand. What
It's
is
when
that?
you just stop talking to somebody and you don't tell them why or that you're leaving
yeah,
or
I know.
anything. You
a
just
ghost
ghost them.
breakup.
All right.
And when I first read it, I thought it was hilarious. I got like a serious chuckle out of that.
Well, she's going to ghost break up with Chicago. Just get ready, because it's just
Well,
going to
I mean,
be
this
like,
really
where's
isn't a
where's
ghost-
Averie? And it's just like just gone.
I mean, giving 8 months
Gone.
notice that I'm leaving is
I
not
mean,
really ghosting.
I was going to say, like, I've talked about it on multiple podcasts, and if anybody asks me, I talk about it. The plan is to move to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and to start a farmhouse brewery there. So that, I suppose this is the official announcement of that plan. And you heard
Got
it here
it.
first.
Got it.
On the Insiders Roundtable.
exclusive.
Wow. Yeah.
You got to tease that on the social media.
Nice. And then we've got we've got someone in the peanut gallery. I don't know if he wants to talk or not, but we've got Mr. Kreider of Second Shift Brewing. How are you, man?
Good morning.
So you were really with Steve and Libby Kreider
You thought I
earlier.
was lying?
Well, I thought you were down in St. Louis, is what I assumed.
Oh, no.
That you were
The
up here.
opposite.
So what were you guys doing then? What's up?
I was coming up here to pick up one of my children tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And Libby's like, go up a day early and hang out with Laugh for an off color. All right. Well, about 30 minutes before I left today, I said, come with us. So my 4-year-old is terrorizing your bar right now, and Libby's
great.
out front. Yeah, it's fine. There's nobody here. Nobody likes this place anyway. I just got back from Santa Fe. That's funny. I just went to Raleigh and dropped off a keg washer.
Amazing.
I
Very
didn't know
nice.
about any of that. All right.
So what kind of camp is your kid in that you're all the way up here in Chicago?
What's that?
Your kid's in a camp up here? You
No.
said? Oh.
My
It's a correctional
it's a
facility.
45
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
picking up my child. She's
Hotel
flying in Midway
California.
tomorrow
Oh,
from
got it.
Grandma's house in Pennsylvania. There you
Got it. Okay.
Conveniently
That makes
located
sense.
from St. Louis's Midway. Yes.
Got it. Wow. All right. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for
And we wanted to
crashing.
come by and see you. Yeah. And I didn't know
Appreciate
this was
it.
going on.
Nice.
Well, you read the articles, right?
Yeah, as long as you read the articles and know what's going on. Well, then let's get right into it. Have you had any beers? Let me ask you: was there a beer that you had over the weekend that you hadn't had in a while, and you were surprised by how
Of
nicely-
my own beers?
Yeah.
Actually, yes. The 2019 batch of Tree Tipper, which is a spruce tip and honey saison we make every year. That the first year was accidentally a Christmas beer, and now is like a seasonal Christmas beer every year.
Nice. That's why that's why you poured it in August. Get it? Got it.
Yeah. It was tasting great. It had so very few of the beers that I would open and pour for people. We were all wearing masks. Like I would be able to smell through the mask, and that when I opened it, it was like, oh my god, this is a beautiful beer right now. Which is it's fun. Yeah, that things hold up like that. And then we did some green bottle stuff. Like we put stuff in green glass just for like did a case or two of some runs, and those were pretty interesting. Some Wilby and some Spandrel.
And
They were like a little bit skunky and like just enough to add a little bit of depth, but nothing to like be overbearing or undrinkable. So those are just like fun little
I'm guessing
nerd
Pat's a big
experiments.
fan.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, Pat's a big fan of intentionally micro skunking.
Definitely sold me on that one.
That'll tip now that it's not, facing the right way. There you go. You've got the mic now. Anything you've had lately that you've enjoyed or that you're looking forward to having?
It's been an onslaught of Oktoberfest beers.
It has. Have you had any? I've had hardly any so far
Really?
this year. Yeah.
Oh, so just this week I had a lot, and bunch of good ones off the top of my head. Well, I just had a Metropolitan with
Yep,
Steve
I have
here,
had that one.
which was great. I had Great Centrals was very good. Festzelt.
Yep.
We had the Hofbrau Fest beer, and that's coming in. We'll be tapping that September 1st. We have Rheingeist makes a nice one. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to fit it on tap. But they came in a couple days ago with a really nice Oktoberfest beer. Sorry, just going off the top of my head here.
Yeah. You said the Hofbrau. I was going to ask if there was any imports, but the Hofbrau definitely would.
Yeah, and that's. I do have a couple of import kegs, but samples have been few and far between. But we're
Reinger's been hard to get this year.
That was a pre-order.
Yeah.
And apparently I pre-ordered one. I don't remember it, but we're bringing one in.
Okay. That's when they are nodding while they're talking to you. Like
it could be.
You
they could have been like,
keg,
"Hey, you
right?
pre-ordered this keg. Will you take it?" Yeah.
Exactly.
I never know anymore. And Spotten's is coming in.
Nice.
I haven't had one yet, but I can't wait.
This
It's always good.
Staghorn that Serge brought is awesome.
Yeah, I haven't cracked one of those, and Steve
It's
brought
awesome.
some of his, which I have not cracked yet. But
Better try
yeah,
that one.
it's all Oktoberfest all the time now.
Nice.
And I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a couple weeks away from wanting Oktoberfest, but it's getting close for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's certainly not the weather for it.
Yeah,
but
it's like 100 degrees.
it still tastes good.
How about you, Avery? Anything you've had lately that you've been digging?
Honestly, I've been drinking a lot of margaritas
Nice.
recently.
Okay.
I've got a really fantastic recipe for a margarita, so
Share
I've
it.
been doing those. Well, it's about the homemade, sweet and sour, I guess, the mix, and it's mostly lime, a little bit of lemon, some orange, some egg white for texture and foam, which for me, texture is everything.
Matchbox style.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And of course, mezcal. So they're mezcal margaritas. But I went out to Caleb's out at Sugar Creek Malting. Went out to his place last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and camped out there with my partner and Jacob Sembrano from Cruz Blanca. We had a really great time.
Oh, cool.
And we drank a ton of different beers. I hadn't had a sit down and open 60 beers kind of session in a long time.
Whoa. They were just stuff that had been dropped off or sent to Sugar Creek?
Yeah,
Okay.
or stuff that we brought with us. And so we opened a fair number of beers, and that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Had some beers from Seeds. I've been really impressed with Ryan's stuff. What else? Drink a lot of Mexico Calling.
Nice.
But yeah, just
That's
kind of,
great.
I don't know. We've cleaned out the cellar since all of this has happened, so I don't have to lug around a bunch of trash beer anymore, which has been really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we just get to buy beers that we enjoy and drink those, and that's been a lot of fun.
You need to have a back room that no one you think will ever see, that you can put all your trash beers in the corner of, and then randomly during an imports show you can pull 20-year-old bottles out and see if they taste any good.
They did.
I highly recommend doing that. Yeah.
But by the way, Chris, I forgot to mention,
Yeah.
I was told that there is a Rothaus Oktoberfest coming in.
Yes.
What?
It's on the truck. It's on its way.
Have you
out.
tried it?
Nope.
I haven't tried it either.
No.
But I will say.
I hope it's good because we have a lot
You
coming
guys
in.
bought a little bit,
I
right?
said, well, that's what I heard. I was
Yeah.
like, I'll take a keg of that. And the guy was like, well, Beer Temple took most of it. And I said, well, I talked to Chris recently, and he said I should, that he would give up some of his for me.
Oh, okay.
And so,
It's true love.
yeah.
Sure.
And,
You can have one.
I know you didn't say it, but you could say it right now on the air.
Yeah, you can have one. You
Chris's
can have
love
one.
language
Oh,
is splitting
saying I can
allocations
have
of
one.
Rothaus.
Did you hear that, Lakeshore?
He can have one. He can have one.
One bottle.
Yeah, one. Yeah, yeah.
One bottle?
Yeah. One bottle. No, you can have a keg. You can have a keg. I think we didn't bring in that many kegs. I think we brought in less than 10 kegs, but we brought in a lot,
That's a lot, though.
of cases. We brought in like 200 cases.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I
Which
hope
is
it's
the
good.
most we've ever brought in.
Untasted. I've never even heard of them making an Oktoberfest beer.
We pre-sold over 120 of the cases.
You pre-sold to who? Who are these people?
Maniacs.
Two
Enthusiasts.
different days.
Oh my word!
I'd say a total
They're
of 12
probably the people
hours.
listening
We
to
had it
this
for
right
like
now.
six hours. We did a pre-sale for 6 hours, and then maybe 6 months later, we did another single day of pre-sales, and
You were
people just were buying.
It's crazy to think you were pre-selling Oktoberfest like 8 months ago.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know about 8 months ago, but a long time ago. Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They asked how much do you want, and I said how long and I was like, well, when do I need to? I mean, it's like April or March or something, and they're like, well, you need to tell us tomorrow. So that's why I was like, okay, we're going to do a one-day pre-sale, and that'll gauge what we do.
Right.
And we sold a pallet. So I was like, okay.
They're literally brewing beer specifically for this place.
Yeah, right.
At this point.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Number one
Yeah,
account.
Yeah. So, and we're also have a little.
They weren't going to make an Oktoberfest, but they heard Beer Temple could sell 3
We're
pallets.
gonna do a pop
I
up.
think that might be true.
We're gonna do a pop up. We're just gonna open up that door, clean it up a little bit, and then just have it all up here, and people can come in
Bring
and
your-
pick it up. And we have mini kegs too.
Yes.
Of the pills coming in, and we took all of those, and nobody's
Oh.
getting any of it. So I think people will buy those for like almost like souvenirs. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
You
I'll
should
buy
have
one of those.
a
Yeah,
contest
exactly.
to see who can drink the most of one of those while hula hooping.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I've
Just
done
like
that
in
once down in Austin.
Just like in Bavaria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like in
It's the
Bavaria.
traditional ritual.
The hula hooping.
Steve, anything you've had lately that you've enjoyed, beer wise or
Uh,
margarita wise?
Schlitz,
Okay, Staghorn.
Staghorn, yeah, which I'm drinking now.
I kept the stag in the car. I was like, I'm not
You
bringing
can
it in
bring
for
that in
these
there, the good
savages.
stuff.
Yeah.
That was going to
Give me the
Lafler,
sa-
but he's sick apparently. I'm just surprised about the Rathaus thing.
I know. I am too.
It's the most beautiful brewery I've ever been to. It's gorgeous.
Oh, really? I haven't.
But the funny thing is when you're over there, that's shit beer. I don't know if you can say
Oh,
that. Yeah, nobody cares about it. But I think their beer is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
The brewery it's in the Black Forest. It's gorgeous. But I don't remember having Oktoberfest from them. I didn't know they did that either.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? They're German, so.
Yeah. So
So it's probably going to show up there and be like, oh, this is for the Americans. We're going to make it hoppy.
So it
And
might
it's probably
be-
going to show up and it's going to be terrible.
It'll be
and you're going to be
darker,
stuck
sweeter,
with
yeah.
10 kegs and 200 cases.
No.
That's going to
9
suck. I only got one.
9 kegs. 9 kegs. Because you're taking one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm taking I'll sell it.
So for me, I was up at the Great Taste. Were you at the Great Taste?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
nice.
poured up there, yeah.
Nice. And it was cool. It was half the size, which still means 5,000 people or something crazy.
Yes.
And I'd say it felt like it was like 80% normal, right?
I was telling Pat earlier, I told him, I said, I think they sold these half the breweries and half the tickets, but it still felt full to me, except
Yeah.
for brewers, because we had space. It was us and a table and the
Yeah.
brewers, and they were all spaced out. But the people, there still felt like
Yeah.
there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, there were a lot of people. It didn't feel like the full, but it felt pretty darn close.
pretty close.
That's how.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
kind of. I don't know if you had any beers that you especially like there, but I had for the first time the Bell's Cold Hearted. I was talking to you about it, Avery. From Bell's, it's their
Is that their
cryo, or
pseudo
is it
lager thing?
lager.
Cold
No,
IPA?
I think it was just a
Or not pseudo
lager.
lager, but
I think
yeah.
it was just a lager.
Okay.
It was an IPL, as
Yes.
they
Oh, yeah,
called
yeah.
it, but it was all Centennial, 7%, so just like Two Hearted, and it was awesome.
Really?
It was
Sounds
it was
great.
so good. It was so good, and I have to say I was a little bit apprehensive because there's been a lot of hearted,
lighthearted.
beers and stuff like that. But
Couple
this one,
two-hearted.
I mean,
Four-hearted.
the best compliment I could give it was it's exactly what you want from a lager version of Two Hearted. So it was like crisp and clean, but has like all that kind of citrus, floral, hop, and it was It was awesome. I mean, I probably drank as much of that as anything. I mean, Fatheads was also there, so I drank the most of them. I was the weirdo who was like,
I had
just
one of the-
fill
You,
up the glass.
Brought your own cup. Yeah.
I was surprised. I saw Fatheads there, but I saw nobody in line, and I was like,
I know.
Why not? Why aren't you doing this?
I know. I just went and got. I mean, they had 4 beers, but I couldn't tell you what 3 of them were.
Did
I
you
was
drink
just
Headhunter?
Headhunter. That's
Yeah.
all I mean, I'm a fan of that beer.
It's a great beer.
It's a good beer, and it just it scratches the itch for me.
Yeah, it does it perfectly.
Yeah.
When you want that thing.
Yes, but the IPL, Cold Hearted. I came when I came back. I told Steven, the buyer for the bar. I was like, you gotta hit up Bell's for some of that Cold Hearted. See if we can get it out of Kalamazoo because that stuff was great.
Nice.
So it's always fun to go to those fests, especially the cool ones like a Great Taste and see if there's some stuff that isn't like, incredibly exclusive. Like there were the beers that had very super long lines, and I don't even worry about it. It's like whatever. I got in there a little early, and there were some that they were saying, oh, there's going to be a long line for it. I'm not going to name the breweries, but I just looked at it, and it was, like I think it was literally like one of them was like a Reese's cup stout, and one was a this, which just it was fine. People
They
really
didn't even
liked
use
it.
real Reese's.
Yeah,
just kidding.
exactly.
They didn't pick them from the Reese's
And I was
tree.
like, they're like, you're not gonna be able to get it. It's gonna have a real long line. I was like, that's
still
cool.
don't-
I'll
still
wait
don't
in line
want- doesn't
later.
make me want it.
I enjoy doing that, and then never got around to getting in that line. But anyway,
That's what I wanted, a 90-degree day outside at a
Drinking
festival.
in the
300
sun.
people deep. Yeah, wait in
Beer that
line.
reminds me of a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Let me spend a third of the
fresh.
time I have waiting for this Reese's peanut butter cup beer, just
Yeah.
like Mom used to make.
well, you know what? We have a letter. Should we read the letter, or should we take a break first and then read the letter? What do you think, Mike?
Let's take a little break.
Let's
and
take
read
a little
the
break.
letter.
We
Yeah.
come back. We always do the letters at the end, and I think we should do the letters early.
It's handwritten.
I like it.
Handwritten, mailed.
Real-
It's
real
on
paper.
legal. It's on a legal pad.
Yeah.
This is not. This
It's
is a
from my
cease and
attorney.
desist,
Yeah,
Chris.
it's from my attorney saying
Either that or it's a ransom
We
note.
regret to inform you that you can no longer.
exactly.
They abduct one of your children?
No. It's this is actually, you know what? It's written to you as well, Mike. It's to
Oh,
Chris and
wow.
Mike. So it's your first letter, Mike.
Look at me.
Yeah.
A little glow up.
I think I
Yeah.
might need to read this when we come back from the break.
Okay. If you can read the handwriting, you can read it if you like. So let's take a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am Chris Quinn with my co-host Mike Shalau, and we are with just Pat Berger and Averie Swanson now. Kreider
What about Serge?
and Serge.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Serge, obviously.
Yeah, Serge is here.
I mean, they heard the fade in.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
do you
did.
think I've faded in myself? Come on.
Nah, never once.
Faded out though.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm faded.
Faded away.
But yeah, Kreider faded away. He got angry. There was a scuffle, and
Yeah, I can't believe you punched him like that.
yeah, I had to beat him down.
You did. No, you kind of kicked your ass.
No, I definitely won that one.
And you're crying.
Well, yeah, that's because I feel bad for the state I left him in. Anyway,
Should've seen the
moving
other
on.
guy.
Yeah, exactly. We have I have in my hand a handwritten letter. We've been having a nice string of handwritten letters, man.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, right? This is from Ben, and if you guys want to, well, I'll read the letter, and then I'll let people know. So this is to you and me, Mike. So this is your first. This is your first handwritten letter.
Appreciate it, Ben.
Yeah. So it says, I'll try to read this the best I can, Ben, so apologies. Well, Chris and Mike, loved your conversation about all the things you love about beer culture. Thanks for the invite to contribute. What I love about beer culture is that you don't have to be Hill Farmstead, Scratch, Treehouse, or any of the highly thought of breweries to create culture or to be something positive. Even breweries that are just okay or aren't that cutting edge have the opportunity to create community, build culture, and be a positive boon to the local economy. I was recently in a small town in Iowa and naturally found their local brewery. Was it great? Nah. Was it groundbreaking? Absolutely not. But the people were kind and clearly of that community. Somehow it seems breweries have carved a niche bars haven't quite managed. Anyways, love the new format and old. Keep building culture, Ben. So there you go. Pretty.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. That was see what happens when we're not curmudgeonly for one show.
The show took a lot out of me. We're pretty curmudgeonly.
Yeah, it's true.
Ben seemed to kind of have a backhanded compliment there on you. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was basically saying that even though you guys aren't cool
Right.
or cutting edge,
True. You still have carved out.
he
Yeah.
still appreciates your efforts.
We're trying our best.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You liked that?
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
I know I did. I did.
right.
I appreciate the
I'm
fact
just
that
checking. And then he went on to insult bars. So
Yeah.
Ben seems like
Bless your heart, Ben.
a real fan. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I'll see you up here. Mike will buy you a beer.
Yeah.
So if you want to send us an email with your shirt size or what type of merch you want, because we both have shirts
We
now.
have merch now.
Now we both have shirts.
That's
You can say if you want some Is-Was merch or some Beer Temple merch, what your size is, and we'll get it sent out to you. For others, you can send any kind of letter that you want electronically to insiders@craftbeertemple.com, or we'll definitely read it on the air if you handwrite it. So it's you can send it to Ben wrote it to the Beer Temple Radio Hour. All right. We got to get some shock absorbers on these mics. Beer Temple Radio Hour he sent it to, but just send it to Beer Temple, whatever you want. 3173 North Elston Ave, Chicago, Illinois, 60618. That's where you would want to send something to. Notice I actually get them. And you say that a lot of them weren't getting lost at CoPro, but we've been getting a decent stream of...
Did I say that? I thought I was on team They're Getting Lost.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen, we brewed out of Mars for about a year and a half. I know how things work down there.
But anyway, thank you very much, Ben. But if you guys have anything that you want to comment on, you can certainly send us a letter, but you don't necessarily have to. You can do an electronic letter.
Yeah, and if you compliment
prefer.
us, we'll probably read it. So.
If you compliment us, we'll probably read it, and I will definitely reply to you within 6 months. I promise. I promise. All right, so off we go onto the real stuff. So, Mike, this was a topic that you actually suggested we talk about, and we had a couple different topics that I had thought of, and you had offered a few as well. But I think this one's going to take a while. It depends, unless Pat's like, no, I don't really think about it, and then we just move on. It's just it's just like a stone wall.
To be perfectly honest, I sent
I've
it
tried
to
to
you
do that
before
like 3
reading the whole
times tonight. It
article.
hasn't worked, Chris.
Yeah,
so
no, I just keep
I think we're
talking.
going to keep going.
I just keep going. Do you want to introduce her, or would you like me to
I
introduce
think you can introduce
Okay.
it. You did the nice outline. I want you to have your moment of glory.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good cover. So essentially,
Really carrying my weight.
there was a White House put out an executive order, I guess you would call it, for
That is what
That's
they
exactly
call it.
what you would call it.
yeah, and it was an executive order, yes, calling for increased competition across the economy.
Yeah.
And this was an article by Justin Kendall and Jessica, Infante from Brewbound. Shout out to them because they give me access to the Brewbound Premium. So I told them whenever we offered it, I would a little pay to play.
Look at the big balls on Chris Quinn over
I
there.
know. Must
Yeah.
be nice.
I know a guy.
Hey.
Because the article I sent you, I was like, this is probably a good article, but I can't read the rest of it because I'm not remembering that.
I was like, can you send me a PDF, my dude? And he was like, it's in the outline.
I
Yeah.
sent
My
that from my phone at a Cubs game yesterday.
Yeah. But
Yes.
anyway, so thanks to the guys and gals at Brewbound. But anyway, essentially it was this executive order was asking for increased competition across the economy, including the alcoholic beverage space. And it was interesting. I did not think I was going to enjoy this article as much as I did, but it was cool because then they basically consolidated what 3 different kind of big lobbying groups, I guess you would call, trade organizations in the beer world, kind of put out press releases and assuming are lobbying Washington D.C. for their specific kind of interest groups. It was the Brewers Association, who represents craft, quote unquote, craft breweries, small independent breweries, whatever you want to say that they represent. I mean, do they still represent Sam Adams,
Yeah.
Boston Beer?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so I mean, whatever. That's them.
Gotta keep those numbers up, Chris.
The Beer Institute, which is all breweries, big and small. Big Tent, the Big Tent organization. Not just the teeny tiny guys like Boston Beer.
I had not even heard of them before you
I
sent
didn't
me
know they
this.
were real.
To be totally honest,
I don't
Sounds
know
like
if,
some Koch brothers.
I don't know if I had
totally.
either. And then it's the NBWA, which is basically, well, it's the National Beer Wholesalers Association, so it's just the distributors. So it was the Tier 1 and Tier 2, noticeably absent Tier 3, because we don't really have any representation, do we? I guess the Restaurant Association?
National Restaurant Association.
Yeah.
But
That's not quite the same.
well, you're right.
Not quite,
They're
yeah.
not interested in these particular
Yeah.
squabbles because they see breweries as partners with them. So they let them fight it out.
Right. Yeah. So that was one thing I noticed was because it was very obvious just from reading what the Brewers Brewbound went through. Each all three of the statements and then kind of outlined what the three different groups were asking for. And I mean, it's funny. Nothing came as a surprise at all. But
Right.
you also were like, oh, that's what you do. You lobby only for your own very
You're
myopic
a special interest group.
interest for your own very special interests.
That's right.
But it was, which, hey, I mean, that's what their members pay them to do. They're not there to be altruistic or to help grow the industry overall. They're there to increase their part of the pie by either growing the pie or just kind of nudging other people out. Not good or bad, but anyway. were you
No,
gonna
but
say something?
an important distinction. And
Yeah.
There was a time when the Brewers Union or Guild or whatever you want to call it was trying to rope in the third tier. And they made it very apparent that they're not interested in our interests. They're only interested in their own.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's their constituents.
Which is exactly right.
Right.
Which is another reason no one in my tier should ever trust or work with a Brewers Guild.
Yeah, I think you have to have your eyes wide open. I don't know if I would take that harsh of a stance, but I do think that you have to walk into everything with eyes wide open, personally.
Right.
And I don't think that's, mean or negative to say. It's not like I'm wishing them ill, but yeah,
But it's a nice way to say don't trust them.
Yeah.
Eyes wide open.
Yeah.
That's a nice.
I agree. It's
Nice
a nice way
term.
of saying that. I think, you
Yeah,
should walk
probably
into
right.
every engagement with the understanding that everyone is inherently, to some degree, if not a very large degree, self-interested. And again, like you said, these are organizations that are lobbying for the interests of their constituents. And honestly, I think that it's kind of interesting to read this article
Yeah.
and their responses, just because it does give you like an enumerated list of what is most important to them and what they care about right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So the order that the way I was going to talk about it was to go in the order that kind of the Brewbound article was, which was to go to the BA first, and then the NBWA, the wholesalers next, and then the Beer Institute. The Beer Institute probably will take the least amount of time, but who knows? So is that cool with everyone?
Yes.
Is there
Sounds
anything
great.
most- Okay.
Sure.
So essentially, the BA, they were up first in this article, and it was, I guess, the BA president, Bob Pease. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yes.
Bob Pease? Okay. And it's it's interesting. I mean, their main thing was if you had to break it down, so they represent small breweries, right? So they had three main things that they wanted to go after, which is everything in the chain that isn't specifically that, which is funny. So they wanted to go after larger breweries that weren't in their group.
Right.
They wanted to go after distributors, and they wanted to go after retailers, which was funny. But it's funny. There was a lot of very formal language and stuff like that. And the first thing that they talked about was the abuse of category management practices is they thought was really something that if we're going to get back to increased competition, one of the big things that really needs to be taken care of is category management. Do you know what that means, Mike? Do you know what they mean by category management?
Yeah, usually like larger producers will be a category, like the sets at larger box stores, like at the CVS's and Walgreens and grocery stores, and say these are the beers that you're carrying, and these are the places you'll put them.
Right.
And it's not the best for independent small producers.
Yeah, they basically said the retailer turns over control of shelf space and product selection to larger suppliers or so-called quote-unquote category captains, and that they can basically, these category captains can dictate the sets,
right.
The sets. And we've talked about that a lot of times on this show before,
Yeah.
but basically the sets are when you go into a Target or something, it's not really the individual buyer necessarily
Right.
picking what beer is everywhere. They're being told either regionally or nationally or both, you have to have these beers. Like these beers have to go, and they have to go on this shelf. They have to go on the end cap. You have to do this. You're bringing in this many cases of this beer. All you stores are,
Yeah. And like that doesn't happen at all retail outlets, but it's the ones where the most volume gets pushed through.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like when you look at trying to grow.
Chains do. I think most chains do.
Right. Like you don't have that. But when you see craft beer trying to grow and evolve and level up, a lot of those sales are going to come at locations like that. And most people don't realize a lot of breweries can be completely shut out of getting into places like that because of the way that this system operates.
And Bob Bees would get along with Averie because he also believes that most people operate from a place of self-interest. Because he said these category captains often abuse their favored positions. Moreover, even where a retailer allocates a section of beers, this is the best part, where a retailer allocates a section of its shelves to local brands, too often the wholesaler serving the retailer will stock such areas with the products of its dominant supplier, its biggest brewer is what that means. Supplier, whenever they say this, just think brewer. Such as former craft beer brands purchased by one of the major beer suppliers. What I'm thinking of is Whole Foods, where it always says local, drink local.
Goose Island.
And then they'll have, or Lagunitas or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because we had Tony McGee on years and years ago, and he was talking about how they were trying to become set captains for, I forget if it was like Target or Walgreens.
Also said he'd rather put his thumbs through his eyes than sell out to Budweiser, and then a week later he sold out to Heineken.
Yeah, 3 weeks later.
To be fair, they are different companies.
They are very much.
I'd rather put my eyes.
For now.
I'd rather poke my eyes out because then I would be giving up the 500 mil in
That I'm
my
about,
pocket.
it's about
Bill.
to hit my bank account.
Yeah. And the other 500 mil I got 3 years later.
All right, so
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Go.
let's just break down this.
Break it down,
complaint,
man. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. This part of it anyway, or you can go to other parts that you talked about as well.
No, because I think this complaint is interesting.
Yeah. I do too.
So they're saying that a retailer cannot rely on a distributor to pick its brands for them, that they somehow want to make it illegal to have a salesman like stock your shelves for you. Now, my business relies on me stocking my own shelves, right? And that's why people come to see me and to see a curated beer selection. If you're going to the Jewel to see a curated beer section, well, you probably don't care that much about the beer selection.
Right.
So I'm just, these businesses, they streamline everything, and you're kind of trying to control how a private business in America wants to run its business by telling them, well, no, you can't let the distributor pick the brands that go on your shelf. Like, how do you even, this is just ridiculous. You can't enforce this, right? You can't.
It'd be very difficult.
Well, I'm sure if the next step for them would be like, well, we can do it. Like the Brewers Association could help. Like it's not like it's going to.
This is how the big world works. I'm sorry, and a lot of craft brewers, by the way, profit heavily from this. Many. So if you're Revolution or Half Acre or Sierra Nevada, and you're in the Reyes cluster here in Chicago, you profit from that captain putting you in the rotation for shelf space at the Whole Foods. So I just,
sorry, not to,
I'm just saying, like, I don't know what people want here. They want every little tiny brewery to be able to get shelf space at a Whole Foods. I'm sorry, Whole Foods is owned by Amazon, man. Get over yourselves and worry about your small partners, which are the mom and pop liquor stores and the mom and pop restaurants and the mom and pop beer bars, and work with them and forget about the Whole Foods and forget about Wrigley Field and forget about Soldier Field and forget about all these other giant corporate places that are always going to be controlled by the other giant corporate places.
It's so funny you say that, and it comes up a lot, I think, in the next when the distributors talk, because they kind of come at it from the other angle as well. But it is funny because I think who the BA represents is twofold. A lot of the people who give them a lot of money are probably the bigger national and regional players who expect them to fight for them. So the people who this does affect. And the little guys, as you'll see the distributors complaining about, are doing self-distro and own premise. So they're also maybe not pushing the mom and pop retailer thing as hard necessarily. So it is funny that definitely does come across. You've been cut off like 10 times, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was interrupting. But it is like not just because you make this illegal, right? If you think it's not like Jewel is going to be like, well, I want to seek out was, and I want to carry 500 milliliter bottles of Saison. It might make a little bit of like a difference for a next tier of brewery, but the reality is that most of the places that have these types of category captains are just going to carry the same beer anyway. Like they don't want to have hundreds of SKUs of beer. The reason they do this is to keep it like relatively streamlined. So while this is like this is a wonderful idea for small breweries, it's not going to affect people like me or people like Averie or probably 7,500 of the 8,000 breweries in the country. So it makes sense that they would push for this, but I don't see it being a real change in any way. Like, it's not like you're not going to create a whole new purchasing system where it's going to be like, well, every CVS now has its independent craft beer buyer that like really loves the thing that it's like, that's not how those companies work.
Right.
I will say that, like, at the end of the day, nothing is going to fundamentally change with this executive order or with whatever the results are of whatever reports end up actually happening from this.
Sure.
When I first read all of this earlier today in preparation for this, it's kind of like, honestly, I don't really have very many opinions. You know what I mean? My beer is not being widely distributed. I don't have to interact with, for the most part, 2 of the 3 tiers.
Right.
I'm kind of in, and granted, I recognize the privilege of being in that little bubble, and it will not last forever. But also as someone who is currently in the process of figuring out where the hell I'm going to be making beer next, and I am looking at other states, at the end of the day, I don't feel like the federal laws for all of this stuff are even the most important things that most suppliers or distributors need to be looking at. Each state is totally different,
Right.
and those states, those are the people that are going to be enforcing the laws. The federal government is not going to be coming and knocking. They're not going to come look at the
unless
shelves
there's-
at Jewel Osco in Chicago.
Unless there's something insanely egregious going on
Exactly.
where they can make money by investigating
Exactly.
it. Like,
And
no,
so,
that's going to be
honestly,
enforced.
this whole thing kind of seems like an opportunity to see where that egregious discrepancy lies, because you can see, based on what the BA has put out versus what the NBWA put out, there are some pretty big differences in their statements.
Yeah.
So I think that that is a good place to start
Right.
for the federal government. Basically, like, tell us where we need to start in figuring out how to fix whatever discrepancies are actually happening.
Right.
But beyond that, I think that at the end of the day, retailers is where the buck stops. And so if we as suppliers are not providing retailers with what they need to serve our beer properly and in an excited way to communicate that to the consumer, we're doing our products a disservice. We're doing the industry a disservice. And I've been like talking about this with various entities that I've been involved with over the years. Like, if we're not talking to retailers about what we're doing and why it matters, they're not going to care.
Right.
And therefore the consumer will not care.
Right. And if you're starting a small brewery or have started a small brewery and you're banking on sales at your local grocery store, you're too late. Like,
Totally.
like, it's over for you. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, those channels are filled. And them saying, like, oh, there can't be category captains anymore isn't going to change that. If your business plan was to sell beer at every grocery store and CVS in your area.
Well, but maybe for the big players or bigger,
Right.
big-ish, big-ish players.
Right, but this isn't about the 7,500 or 7,900 even. Like,
Probably more about like the
breweries.
Odells of the country.
Odell, I mean,
It's about the top 50.
the
Revs.
Revolutions.
If you're
yeah,
making
the
a
top
seltzer,
50s.
we're talking about you.
Yeah. I mean, no offense, but how much money have you two given to the BA?
I'm not even a member.
I decided that I should put in my dues and be a member last year, and I got dick shit out of it. So I'm no longer a member.
Sergio, write that down.
Sorry,
Dick shit,
Sergio.
that was the most creative
But
one
I
so
really
far.
did.
shit.
I really did mean that one.
Well, I mean, exactly. It's like they're not going to listen to y'all.
No, they don't
no.
care.
And this complaint is one thing. The category captains, who cares? The complaint that interests me.
Yeah, you want to talk about it, or you want me to read what it is?
Yeah, why don't
Okay.
you read it?
So the next thing that they talk about, they talked about the category captains. Let's just get, okay. Another area of concern for the BA is retailers demand that suppliers spend money on, remember suppliers is brewers, that brewers spend money on coupon programs, which Pease called a de facto condition for placement in or promotion of the brewer's products. While these programs save consumers money and are legal under federal law, as well as many states, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh there. While they save consumers money and are legal under federal law, as well as in many states, Pease argued that they serve as illegal slotting allowance payments, and such
So they are
quid
legal,
pro
but they're not
quo
legal.
arrangements have become commonplace.
And
the-
adhere to capitalism and the American way of life.
Yeah,
It's basically like, I'm sorry, but I should be able to negotiate with my vendors for everything, because this is a capitalistic society,
Right, but even
And
that
I
sounds like it's
can-
like get a glass free if you buy a pint. Or
Well, that's what
something
it's
like
turned
that.
into.
Yeah,
I can't get a free coaster anymore,
Right.
Because the BA is so smitten with these laws. But I should be able to get whatever I can get. I should be able to actually partner. A lot of these craft breweries want to act like they're your partner. But are you paying my mortgage? Are you on? Are you on my note? Are you really my partner, or are you just selling me something that you're making money off of? And Oh, the cops are coming.
Yeah,
Chicago's
they're
coming.
coming to get
They're
you.
coming to get me
That
right
take-
now.
That take was too
The craft
spicy.
beer,
Pat.
please.
That's the ambulance.
They heard this guy had some coasters in the patio lines.
Had some glassware.
Yeah.
But, that's what it's turned into. And it's.
Are you wearing a wire, Mike?
I mean, yes, we're all wearing what?
So, I'm going to come out right now. I don't participate in pay to play. And anyone that looks at my tap handles knows that. Just look at the breweries that I serve. But when I read this article today, Chris, and I'm a contrarian and I like to come on here and have the opposite view.
Yeah.
I am suddenly, officially for pay to play.
Oh, there you are. Why is that?
Because I can do it with any of my food vendors. I can do it with some of my liquor vendors. I can do it with wine vendors. I can't do it with beer. I don't understand that. This is America. I'm a small business owner. I should be able to partner with my vendor and say, I'm going to sell this much of your product, but I need a little break in the price. Let's work together. Let's partner up on this thing. And I can do that on every other aspect of my business except beer. Why is that?
Yeah.
It's some
It's a great
anti-mafia rule. It's some, pre-prohibition, post-prohibition kind
Tied
of.
house. I think it's a tied house thing.
It's a tied house thing. Yet, look, hey, tied houses are a real thing now. They're they opened one in my neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be a diner. Now it's Printers Row Brewing. They don't make any beer there. It is. I don't even know. I've never even heard of Printers Row Brewing. But they have a bar down the street from my house. It's a tied house, right? Solemn Oath just opened a tied house. Mars.
Yeah.
I love Ed Mar.
Yeah.
Love you, Ed Mar. If you're listening, we love you. I
tied
love you
house.
very much. That's a freaking tied house you just opened, and that's cool. Do it. Do whatever you can legally do, I guess. But don't sit here and pretend like you're a proponent of the 3-tier system. You've blown a million holes in it. So I don't know. Where was I going with this?
Well, let me
Chris?
continue on. The other things that they talked about, because there was two other elements too. So there was that about the coupons. There was also
I don't even know what that is.
They don't like. I think it's discounts.
I've never
or
heard of
whatever.
that.
Sponsorships in which large suppliers and wholesalers pay substantial sums to sports and entertainment venues
God
for
forbid.
advertising within arenas, and and then expect essentially quid pro quo as a result.
Which is absolutely happening. That's
That
true.
totally happens. That totally happens. So they get exclusive or near exclusive pouring rights at the venue. And then there was one more. That retailers essentially are. I had it written down in my notes. That retailers essentially are. They see their tap lines and displays as real estate for sale to the highest bidder is what's happening right now. And before we get into that, and what they're hoping, what they suggest that the government does is essentially calibrate penalties and for by company and size of market share to ensure compliance, to focus investigative resources on such competitively relevant actors and practices.
Oh, yeah.
And then collaborate with the FTC and the TTB to hold retailers accountable when they engage in these exclusionary trade practices.
Right.
So essentially, just kind of crack down on them.
Yeah, crack down on us, but make what we're doing legal. Is what they're saying. Breweries can legally do all of these things. Certainly don't let my tier, the third tier, the retail tier, be able to participate in this. And that's kind of what they're saying.
It's interesting. I mean, they've said a lot of the same things throughout, the past several years. The BA has, roughly, but it does take on a slightly different tone now than it has in the past. Maybe it's because I'm looking into it differently, but it was always like it was like the consumers want more choice, and we have to give them more choice, and the big guys are going to use their power to keep craft beer out. and it still is similar to that bent, but now it's also, I guess just make it.
I just
don't know.
personally,
Maybe it is the same. I don't know.
No, I personally have trouble having sympathy for the first tier on this topic when, they're saying, oh, well, you can't have the big guys help out the little guys, the third tier, because they might push my beer out. And then at the same time, they push my whole industry out by being able to open up their own Tide House down the street from my place. So they want it all ways. The brewers want everything. They want to produce it, they want to distribute it, and they want to sell it, and they want to sell it directly to you at home, and they want to sell it directly to you at their bar, and they want to basically, take it all.
I mean, to ask for those things is the function of the Brewers Association.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think they should ask,
be doing
they can
this.
Want it all.
Yeah,
but it's
they
also
should want it. We should want it all.
And it's other people's, what our duty, I would say, well, what not our duty, but what we should do.
Okay, I mean,
push
sure,
back.
if you want to burn it all down, burn it all down.
Push it back.
I would say that there are a few different perspectives on this. I agree with everybody, but because I'm the diplomat. But I think that when it comes to brewer-retailer relationship, like, we should be curating experiences for people. Like, Pat, you have a bar. I don't have a bar. Like, I would so much prefer to have a relationship with somebody that has the location and the space to be able to curate a full-fledged, holistic, multimodal experience for a consumer. Those are the types of relationships that I'm interested in fostering. I think that from the BA's perspective, it does make sense that you should be asking for as much as you possibly can, because you're only going to get a fraction of it. But that being said, I think that what they're asking for strategically does not make sense. This was an opportunity for them to call out the wholesalers for what they knew the wholesalers would call themselves out for, and double down on that so that the feds actually paid attention to it. Because if it was two different tiers saying, okay, well, there are these things that the middle tier, the wholesalers are doing that don't necessarily comport with federal law. There is that pay-to-play business. Like, if you actually double down on that as the BA, you're bringing twice as much attention to those practices, with twice as likely a result of those things no longer being the case after this.
Yeah, to frame this as retailers demanding coupon programs is pretty...
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's pretty silly.
I'm sorry, Sergio. It is ridiculous, though. Yeah. Like, that seems so out of range.
Yeah, I mean, like, as Pat's saying, if you operate a business, you want to pay the least amount for the best possible thing, right? And that's just like, in the same way that the BA should be doing most of these things we're talking about, business owners should be doing that, like behaving exactly that way. I don't disagree with you about any of that part, to be 100%. And personally, like, I don't care about these brewers associations. I think they're ridiculous. But it's what they should be doing. It's not going to affect my business.
I don't think
all.
they're looking out for you two, to be honest.
They're not.
With you.
No,
100%.
not at all.
They are not.
No.
They're not.
No one
don't
is.
Care. Right.
No.
Except for the retailers that house us.
Right.
Like,
And the
Mike was
personal
literally
relations we
here over the weekend serving his beer for his 2-year anniversary. He wasn't at the breweries that he's made those beers at.
Right.
He was here at the Beer Temple because Chris has made this his home.
Right.
Like, that is the relationship that I'm talking about, that I think we're talking about. That is where the value comes in for the consumer, because you get to come here in this special place.
Yeah.
You get to experience many different types of beers and many different people, but it's like a home.
Yeah. And I mean, generally, none of these things are going to affect most of the breweries that exist, and they definitely won't affect our breweries very much. And so breweries should just be out there fostering those relationships. But are they actual partners in the way that you're talking about? No. But to more breweries, they should be. And
They could be.
And they very well could be, and they should be. And it's more on the breweries to actually go and do those things than it is on the BA to ask for restrictions on how you guys should operate.
Right, but I guess it's perhaps easier to have one collective, powerful voice kind of do it. Or, I mean, I guess you also have the state guilds.
By the way, there has never been a time in my experience in the bar business, which goes back, however many years, where the big brewers and the distributors have had less influence on what is being sold.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Right.
the David versus Goliath scenario that the BA loves to pull is it's a false narrative, and you know, to say that like the playing field isn't even when there's like 8,000 of you motherfuckers.
Almost
You write that
9,000.
down, Sergio.
Almost
9,000.
9,000.
9,000 of you motherfuckers. I mean, there's too many of you. No offense.
I think most of us would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And so to say that, oh, it's just not fair. You know, I can't open my new brewery. Everyone's opening a new brewery. Anyone can do it. It's apparently very easy. So everyone go do it. But
the permits are being approved faster than they've ever been.
yeah. So I just, you know, it is now craft brewers now have more advantages legally than any other tier in America. They have more legal advantages than Anheuser-Busch, and they have more legal advantages than the other two tiers. So maybe the BA should take a lower profile on all of this and just kind of enjoy their victories.
There's a lot of exceptions, a lot of carve-outs, I think, for the
Oh my
smaller.
God!
Whoa,
Hey there.
don't worry about that. I caught it, though.
This is episode like what 295 of this
know,
show.
right?
Chris Quinn
But I'm
just
not-
got attacked by his microphone.
Swinging
But
it
I'm
like
not used
Roger
to it.
Daltrey.
I set you up for that. I put that
Thank
microphone up
Thank
today.
you. I caught it.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth.
So I think there are just a lot of carve-outs, which, hey, again, I 110% agree with what Mike said earlier, which is they should fight.
This
for
is what
those
they're
things.
supposed. This is what they're meant
Those are
to
supposed to do.
This is exactly
Well,
what they're
This is
supposed
what
to do.
everyone's dues are
but
paying for.
That's what every lawyer is supposed to do. If you want
Yes.
to put
Yeah.
your trust in a
Exactly.
lawyer and your, you know, if craft beer is now lawyer driven, well, okay, you can have it.
Well,
Yeah.
perhaps all of it. I mean, honestly, it seems like all of it has been for some time. And I would make the argument that over the last couple of years, there has been a pretty evident transfer of power, for lack of a better term, where, I remember when I was at JK, we would send our beer to a distributor.
Gesture King.
Sure.
Sorry.
Just
That was
kidding.
just kidding.
I
And
thought it was just kidding. Yeah.
You know,
LOL,
we would send our beer to various distributors and they would use our product as leverage for retailers, where it was like, if you want that, you're going to have to buy this many case equivalents of these other brands from these
Sure.
other suppliers.
Right.
Before I left, that was no longer the case. And I've been gone for almost 3 years. So the tides have turned very much so, where suppliers do not have the leverage that they once had. And the argument that I would make is that retailers that is where the buck stops. Like, retailers hold the power when it comes to all these things. You can say, I'm sorry, I don't have the draft lines for it. I don't have the cooler space for it. I'm not going to take that product. I don't care how fantastic it is. If it's not going to sell immediately, I have no reason to buy it. So the distributors are the ones that have been lucking out on all of this the entire time.
Right.
For virtually nothing, because they don't. And perhaps that's unfair to say on the record. You know, like
Well, explain what you mean by virtually nothing. Like,
I mean, I do appreciate that they warehouse, they transfer, they deliver. For many brands that are not big breweries, that don't have sell sheets and don't have all this data locked down for them to use as selling points, you're kind of just like hoping that people will be excited enough about your product that they'll sell it to people. Or get other people excited about it. But the distributor is not talking to the consumer. So you have to
Well,
hope,
their consumer is the retailer, right?
right. But so you have to hope that they are impressive enough to the retailer that the retailer is then translating that excitement for that thing that you're making to the consumer,
Which is just
which
almost
is
impossible.
unreasable to expect
don't know
because
if I
there are so
agree
many
with that.
suppliers. Well,
with that, just that last part. I think I agree with a lot what you said. You can't nowadays hope for the distributor to sell your product for you,
No.
or transfer
Agreed.
the or transfer like the meaning and why it's special.
So what
and
are
stuff
they
like
doing?
that.
Absolutely not.
Who, the distributor or
Yeah.
their
Logistics.
exactly. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not remove them entirely and just use logistics companies or shipping companies or delivery guys?
At this point,
And
Well,
some
how
are.
would that be any
Some
different,
aren't.
though?
at this point, it's so ingrained.
But that's my
that
point.
even
You won't
with-
have any different outcome.
Right.
Well, that's my point.
At this point, it's so ingrained in the culture and in the way that businesses are set up that if you were to be like, you don't have to go through a distributor anymore, maybe a handful of really big breweries would be like, okay, we're going to do our own thing, which they kind of already do for a lot of the big ones. But it would still just be like, well, it's easier for us to do it this way, so we're going to keep doing it this way. And I don't see it changing even over a long time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
I think there might be. I think it might be better to have a distributor than a warehouse. And this just popped into my mind right now, is because if you are incentivized to grow a brand, which distributors are, but warehouse and logistics delivery people aren't necessarily, then you would try to, push a little bit, get stuff into places. Now, you're going to have a very select few, just like they were saying with these category captains. They want to grow a very few specific brands to kind of dominate the market or dominate that sector of the market.
Well, and by the way, those brands incentivize the distributor to do so.
Yeah.
Okay, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah.
But they can't incentivize me to do the same.
Right. That's true. Very
It
true.
stops
Very
at
true.
my tier.
Very true. I mean, you're very much allowed to say, for every
The
tap
brewery,
penalty
yeah.
you get X $100.
The craft brewer is allowed to say, hey, we're going to give you a break on the price if you can sell these many units. But then the craft retailer, myself, is not allowed to do the same.
I'll say that there is a pretty significant difference in margin when it comes to tier 1 to tier 2 and then from tier 2 to tier 3. I think perhaps that has something to do with it, but considering the fact that I have never worked in tier 2, have very limited experience in the retail sector.
And they never talk. They're always so... All the
Tier 2 is very...
people,
Yeah, we need a
they never-
distributor rep here today. This is an incomplete conversation without a distributor.
They never say anything. Anyway.
I know, they
we
don't
need to
wanna
get
come
Kirby
on.
here.
Yeah.
Kirby needs to come back. We've had him on in the past, but the big guys, the guys who work for the big houses,
Because they do secretly make a ton of money.
oh, they
Yeah.
do.
They make
But it's
a
all in
lot of
volume.
money. Right.
Sure.
I mean,
Which
yeah.
is why I would make the argument that, like, if you're just warehousing and delivering, you'd probably still make the same amount of money and have the same incentives.
But what distributor is that not true for? Like in any other industry,
That what is not true.
volume is king.
Yeah.
When you're the
Yeah.
distributor,
Right.
and I always find it's strange that I can only buy your beer from one distributor, whereas I can buy, pickles from, 5 or 6 different people. Why is that?
Right. I mean, I think there's I think it's, I think the idea, and a good person to talk about this would be Doug Valicki, because he
Yeah.
has
Yeah,
talked.
there's actually no laws against that, but most of the breweries just want to put their eggs in one basket because
Well, they
Well,
also-
my understanding is that you can actually sign with multiple distributors in most territories.
You can
I think
probably
you
do
can.
whatever you
I mean,
want,
the
depending on
distributors
your
don't want you
agreement.
to, but there's no federal law or state.
Right, depends on your
There's no
agreement with that
laws
Right.
against it. Yeah,
I don't know.
There
one way
are
or
are
another.
laws that, like the franchise laws, depending on states, where you can't move your rights, but that's all dependent upon your agreement. And then if it's not explicitly in the agreement, then it goes to the state level.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
but you
you're
can
right.
do
It's
with it,
different every state.
right?
Well,
and
then perhaps everybody should be lawyering up.
yeah,
If at the end of the day you can do what you want based on the contracts that you've signed or not signed,
Yeah.
then who cares what the feds are saying? Who cares what the executive order says? If at the end of the day
Right.
your rights and your day-to-day operations are based on the contracts that you're signing in a private setting.
Should we talk about the NBWA? What they said now? We're only a first of 3. I mean,
Woof.
come on. Well, it'll go faster.
Yes, I'd like to hear what the distributors say.
All right. So, the CEO of the NBWA, Craig Purser, had quite a lot to say as well.
20-page report.
20-page response. He called the 3-tier system the lifeline to competition in the U.S. beer marketplace, and it's a critical benefit of the system, or a critical benefit of the system is that by independent distributors selling directly to independent retailers, a large supplier brewer is unable to squeeze out its rivals by restricting access to shelf space or by raising costs by impeding access to distribution. Which is exactly a lot of the stuff that I believe Doug has said in the past of why the 3-tier system helps the little guy.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone says it helps the big guy, but it helps
no,
the
it definitely
little
helps
guy.
the little guy. But this is also
Yeah.
like directly opposing what the Brewers Association is saying.
Yes.
That set category captains are inhibiting competition, and they're like, no, it's the opposite. We're
Right,
we're allowing
exactly.
for competition.
Yeah, so essentially that's what he said. is that well, hold on. I think I'm trying to go back and forth, and I'm kind of botching it right now. But essentially, what he said that, and then the second outline was, of course, I mean, I was just waiting for this to happen, that self-distribution isn't subject to the same legal scrutiny as the three-tier system is, and that the TTB should require brewers or importers engaging in distribution to follow the to secure a basic federal permit and basically just have, like, I guess some of the more basic permits and licenses that other distributors who are going through the three-tier should need to do.
That just seems kind of redundant, though, right?
Well, and that was specifically for out-of-state distribution, correct? I don't know that it was explicitly defined.
Yeah, I think it they should just have it. Self-distributors should just have it, I think.
That just seems.
I mean, if you're doing business within your
redundant.
state, then it doesn't seem like it's a federal issue.
Right. It's explicitly not.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Right.
built in, right? But yeah, that just seems redundant and unnecessary, to be perfectly honest, to have re-registered as both, even though the one license gives you the rights to do both.
It does say to conduct intrastate.
So that's within your own
within.
state,
Yeah, mhm.
which is
So it says
not
many-
even constitutional.
Many
Which
of
is
the-
not within federal jurisdiction.
Yeah, many of the country's nearly 8,900 craft breweries rely on taproom sales and self-distribution to sell their products locally, so much of their volume never flows through the middle tier. Self-distributing breweries do not need TTB wholesaler permits to conduct these interstate businesses and are subject
Inter or intra?
intrastate business and are subject to less oversight than federally permitted distributors, which creates problems in the marketplace, he says.
That's the point, though, right? That's the point of states defining their
I mean, he goes on to say that breweries should have objective flow meters in their draft lines to
I
be
know.
measuring how much draft is being poured on site.
Yes.
But this is-
That
They
is
pay-
absurd to me.
It
But
just
this was
seems
smart.
I
This was
think-
smart of him because he's saying that
Yeah.
they're dodging taxes.
Yes.
That's why he's saying it. They should have flow meters
So-
because they're using it as
Yeah, he's
tax
basically
shelter.
saying, look, every ounce of beer that I distribute is taxed.
Yeah,
It's
that's what he's
guaranteed.
saying. Yeah.
And it is not guaranteed that every ounce of beer being self-distributed or poured out of a tap room is taxed.
And here's what he
I
says.
find
With
it-
the increase in breweries comes the increase in opportunity for tax evasion.
I find-
Breweries failing to pay taxes have an unfair competitive advantage over compliant breweries and retailers that compete with tap rooms.
I find it very ironic that the tier of the system that directly rises out of the mafia is being like, well, these guys might be evading their taxes.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, get out of
Well,
here.
and the second
Yeah,
you start
but-
installing like federally mandated flow
Flow
meters
meters.
at a brewery is
Well, that's never
is
gonna happen.
the second before they begin being installed at retail locations,
Right.
or for that matter,
No,
anywhere beer.
they
is being-
aren't, though, because we're not producing the product. So they would never, it wouldn't make any sense. I've already paid double tax on everything that comes into my premises, right? Because it's coming through the distributor, and it's all, there's paperwork trail for it all.
But so are breweries that are selling beer directly to consumers. You're paying like double, sometimes triple taxes on that.
For a self-distributed brewery with a tap room,
With a tap room. I think there's
that
a tap room.
is not necessarily true.
I think that's what I
Yeah.
think that's what he's saying for is for the
You're
tap
paying
room.
tax at least 2 to 3 times on that beer.
If you're doing it all, yeah.
Right.
If you're doing it.
I think just to say that most breweries are committing blatant tax evasion is unfounded
Is
and
wrong.
really hard to back up and should be like discrediting a lot.
Yeah,
of
I
what
would love
they're-
to see the data.
Yeah, I mean it's a unprovable thing, I would imagine, but just to be like these guys are
No,
probably
yeah, it's a
cheating on
total
their taxes.
asshole move saying, "Hey, you want to mess with us? Why don't we put flow meters
Well,
on all
that's
of your
exactly
taps?"
that's why I mentioned the thing
Yeah.
earlier about the BA and
Sorry,
their
Serge.
strategy or lack thereof. Like, why wouldn't you foresee what the wholesalers were going to say
Right.
and preempt that with something
Right.
that would at least attract a little bit more attention to their practices?
Right.
Right. And he doesn't go so far as to say it's happening. What he says is,
It
I mean,
could.
it's very
Oh, it's-
right.
There's no
increased-
doubt it's happening.
Increased
There's no doubt.
opportunities for
But
tax
to say that
evasion.
that
You
that
all-
is a lost source of revenue for the government at an extremely high level is
And when-
is wild.
I'm pretty sure that article also
think?
said that
Yes.
8% of the total volume of alcohol being produced in this country is from craft distillers, brewers, and wineries. 8%.
Right.
So that's 8% of the potential revenue that the TTB
Well, I
would be
think-
bringing in.
Right.
I think the other
Come
thing.
on.
I think the other thing they're complaining about, which is funny, is a lack of data on it all, because there isn't actually any data on self-distributed beer. They don't.
That sounds like an opportunity
yeah,
for all
yeah.
my IT friends out there.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Nobody's.
I don't want you having my data.
and
Why do you get to? Why should they get to have my data?
What if they pay
I did
for
all
it?
the work.
there's also zero data on beer being sold directly through a brewery in their tap room.
And why should there be? Why is that something that they should get to access to?
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
But
Stay
for
out of it.
for you to say it's a small exposure for tax evasion, there's no data to back that up either.
Well, there's no data to prove it either, so you can't get me into a data off with me on this.
Well, he's just saying there's an increased. No, but no.
There's no data. You can't be
I'm
proven
here for
either
the
way.
data
So you don't
off
don't present me
I
as like,
know,
He's
but
not
it's
saying there is. He's saying
I'm just saying.
what it says
Who
is
knows?
there's an increased opportunity for it.
Yeah, and nobody
you don't know.
kno-
That's
no-
what he's saying.
It
I
is-
mean, it's a clever way of putting
he
it.
is
It is unusual
definitely
that
true
no one
that if
knows.
there's more of something, there's more opportunity for you to do anything in that space. But like to say that this is like one of the bigger things that would increase competition in the alcohol sector that the president's asking you to talk about, it seems absurd to say that small breweries are evading taxes as one of the top things that is going to increase the competitive landscape of the alcohol
Of
space.
course. I mean, a lot of these are absurd.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, they're all absurd.
I mean, I think they're all absurd. I mean,
Right.
that's I would agree 100% with that. Now, at the same time, everybody wants to not be regulated and be like, trust us, you don't need to regulate us. I mean, look
Yeah.
at what tech has always done. Like, we'll regulate ourselves. You don't need to look into this. So, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, nobody wants people like poking around in that stuff because
Your account has been suspended.
Exactly. They don't want our accounts suspended. So, I mean, that's just the truth as well. And right now, I think a lot of that stuff seems to be, flying under the radar. And I don't know anything about the legalities of like how much ingredients you're buying versus how much you should be able to produce with that versus how much tax I don't know. It seems to me, if there's a way to avoid or skimp paying taxes, like how many liquor stores are skimping on sales tax, which is way harder to do, I would imagine, than than just something flowing out of the tap room at your own premise place. I mean, there's
I'm not saying
no
it's
way
not
that can't
happening.
happen. You're just saying
It's-
that being a thing that Biden needs to worry about.
And especially coming from a part of the industry that literally grew out of the mafia. It's
Yeah.
like, get out of here.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
As if the brewing industry didn't grow out of the mafia.
No, not in the same way. Are you serious? They were brewing beer way before the prohibition and way after it. And where did the distribution
America?
come from? Yeah, where did the distributors come from?
Well,
Where did they come from?
yeah. Who did the brewers partner with to
Sure.
distribute their beer?
Sure, but brewing was happening before.
Let's all trust the
Bottle would
brewers,
happen
but not the
after.
distributors. Is all I'm saying. You're like, oh, yeah, they're a bunch of mafia guys.
Because
bottling as well.
they only
packaging, for
existed
sure.
because of that.
No. Distributors only existed because of the mafia.
Yeah, because of alcohol running during Prohibition. Almost all distribution and the three-tier system grew out of the fact that someone had to get it there.
Yeah,
Right?
Against
During that.
the mafia. Like that was a way to get distribution out of the mafia's hands.
The people that owned the distributors when coming out of Prohibition weren't the people that were already distributing the...
And the people who were
Stuff
brewing the
during
beer
Prohibition.
coming out of Prohibition weren't the people supplying the mafia with the beer?
Right, but they weren't the mafia.
They were the good mafia,
It only
Pat.
Yeah, come on,
The
Pat.
good mafia.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to join either mafia.
right.
Can someone make me a maid band?
So then you've got the Beer Institute. Okay.
I can't believe I'm sticking
think-
up for the distributors.
I don't think you
over
can
here.
get made because you got that Irish blood in you. Ever seen Goodfellas?
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I'm married to an Italian. Does that help?
I think that does count.
It
now.
does help.
Good. All right. Yeah.
So there are two things that the BI went for. One, get rid of the aluminum tariff.
Which just makes this seem so. If the name wasn't enough, this is such like a.
These guys
seems
so
like such
far
a-
are making the most
like
sense.
a
Yeah,
Coke-
this
Koch
one was
brothers,
like, I was
Totally,
surprised.
yeah.
Yeah, aluminum's affecting the brewers the most, not like other insane industries.
It's a real problem, though. I'm with these guys. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's legit to say get rid of the aluminum tariff.
Is
don't
this
you?
sure it would be great, but is that do you think the aluminum tariff is slowing any brewery down from canning?
I don't know.
There were rumors of a shortage, but
Yeah,
as
like
a person that only
no-
packages in glass, I don't know.
Yeah, same. But like, no one's not buying cans because the aluminum price is too high.
Yep.
Like-
It's just that the price of beer is going higher.
Right. I don't know. This is that.
I appreciate their pragmatism, to be totally honest.
I mean, to
I
me,
think
it's
this
like,
is a
yeah.
real thing, though.
I mean, lower
But-
the cost of
Yeah,
goods sold. I mean, it seems.
God
seems
forbid we lower the
legit.
cost of beer for the consumer.
I'm not against that, but it's just,
And then the other one was the that I picked up on, unless I missed anything else, was ease the complexities brewers face when applying to add a distillery or winery to their existing business, which is definitely something that's happening quite a bit now. Isn't
Absolutely.
Coors has a distillery now? I just heard.
Couldn't believe they didn't have one earlier.
Yeah. So it's and that's something that's huge in the craft sector is wineries and distilleries and seltzeries and kombucheries and anything that can
If
dear
I owned
God,
a brewery,
get me
I would.
away from
Yeah,
beer.
I think I would certainly want to be able to diversify my product with the least amount of government interference. So, yeah, I think these guys are making sense.
I would
the
say
other
that-
two are just like fighting with each other.
Yeah,
huh?
I agree with that. There's a lot of drama in
Yeah.
the first
Yeah,
two.
I agree.
And then the third, and I do think I appreciate the sentiment behind the whole like trying to mitigate regulatory obstacles for alcohol producers. And this is something that I've talked about with various people over the last couple of years since like the seltzer boom has been a thing. But like how seltzer is considered part of the beer category. And I would make the argument that it probably shouldn't be. You know, there's like hard seltzer, but then there's also like RTD cocktails. Why isn't it just alcohol manufacturing across the board?
Right.
And distilling and winemaking, and
Well-
regardless of what your fermentable raw material is.
I think fermentables, I would agree with you, but distilling does need, in my opinion,
Right.
another level of regulatory
But is
oversight
anybody-
because
Is anybody actually going in and like making sure that the people that are applying for those distilling permits are actually like cut out to be doing what they're doing? Because I agree with you that there is a higher level of danger and whatever associated with that particular manufacturing process.
which is the only reason the government should be in there is to
Totally. I agree.
make everything safe.
for both the people making it and for the people consuming it.
Exactly.
100%. I agree with that. But at the end of the day, all of these different tiers and all these different, or, you know, different manufacturers in different categories in different states all are subject to all of these different rules and laws. And it's across the board not fair and not equal. And I think, I don't know, and perhaps this isn't what everybody wants to hear, but scratching all of it and just starting from the very beginning and being like, you know, if at the end of the day we're about safety for both the manufacturers and the consumers, let's start there. And how can we create an industry that is actually making something that is economical, providing jobs for people, but is also safe to consume? I don't know. I can't imagine that the government is actually going to like backtrack, but I think it would be worth.
Yeah, they never do. It
No,
is
they never
built
do.
on a lot of BS.
Yeah.
I will say the BS, I believe, protects a lot the little guys in a way, and I think apparently it was supposed to be like that. And I have found myself being like, if everything opens up, I could easily, and a lot of little guys could easily be pretty screwed, because then you wouldn't have to have GoPuff have partners in every, you know, region or state or neighborhood. You could just have one massive warehouse. It could be like Uline, where there's a couple strategically located places, and they will just, you know,
Right.
drop everything for you and warehouse massive amounts of booze and
Toilet
and
paper.
wine
Yeah.
and toilet paper and just bang, bang, bang. I mean, imagine what an unregulated, what Amazon would do with an much less regulated system. I
Right.
mean, they'd run
Just
I
rampant.
can't even imagine
just-
them doing more than they already do, to be totally honest.
They'd be shooting beer into space or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just look at like, is there craft cereal? Are like really? No, there aren't, right? Because those regulations don't exist in that industry. They're like sometimes there's like local cookies or
There's
like, things like
craft
that.
cereal.
Is there?
You can probably buy it at your local farmer's market.
Yeah, go to Whole Foods, dude. Yeah, there's craft everything.
But compared to
There's
beer,
craft everything.
Is there craft cereal?
Well,
in the
no,
way
because
that
craft beer doesn't mean anything anymore. Because Sam Adams is craft beer.
Right.
What's craft beer?
Right,
I don't
but
know. I don't even know what you're talking about. But yeah, there's craft everything. There are small producers of everything, and why we care so much about the small producers of beer is what actually amazes me.
But why craft beer is able to thrive is these things. There's way more breweries than there are like small cereal companies.
True.
Like
Because it gets you
For
fucked
now.
up. Write that down, Sergio. If there was
Right.
that craft cereal out there that got me drunk, I bet it'd do pretty
but,
well.
But without the regulation, you would just be buying the cheaper thing that gets you fucked up. Write that down, Sergio.
Poor Sergio. Maybe this doesn't go on lump in this one. This one just goes straight to the podcast.
But the reason that there are
Members
is
only.
the
Craft
proliferation.
podcasting.
He's on a
Overall.
second page now, guys. I mean, come on.
This is pretty funny.
It's a craft
He's on a
podcast.
second page.
You're welcome.
That's fucked up.
Notice that I don't think
Aw.
I've cursed at all.
You have children.
No, I've had to edit these things. That's what it is.
Aw.
So
I'm sorry, Serge.
No, you're not. So
A little bit.
Yeah.
You don't
I
know
am now.
You don't know my feelings. My feelings are mine, Chris. Stay away from me.
yeah, I mean, I think with the whole craft thing and what is craft and what isn't, and I'm with you mostly, Pat. I think that it's because it's a social drug is what it is. I mean,
It's a mind-altering substance.
yeah, but it's so social though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the most, I would say, social of all of them.
Yes, and in turn, the most marketable.
Right. And I think that's what it is. There's just so much money to be made from it, way more than, and the regulations probably do help. And that's why there's 9,000 of them. I think the regulations help. If Kellogg's could come in and dominate the shelf set, they certainly would.
Right, they do exactly what the BA is talking about.
Right.
Like set captains. I
mean, they own
so
Kashi.
much more tamed
If you think
down.
Kashi is craft, they're not. They've been owned by
like
Kellogg's or one of them, General Mills, or something for like
Right.
15 years. It's like been forever.
Right.
By the
That's
time
like
you
the-
heard of them, they were already bought out.
Right.
Well, again, I think that the regulations should be primarily at the manufacturing level. Like, you shouldn't be using ingredients that are,
Well,
not
yeah.
food grade or whatever. But when it comes to selling things,
Funny, nobody brought that up.
Like-
Nobody brought that
What?
issue.
Which thing?
Like just randomly throwing random stuff into
food grade
beer.
or not,
Right. Or just
Well-
like finished
well,
food
'cause
products,
at a
or
fed-
like I
you're-
can throw a Snickers into a beer.
Not, no, you're not allowed to do it.
Right,
Like, it's
but it's
not
happening.
legal, but people are doing it all the time. Like you cannot get TTB approval for
Right.
that. Like you cannot. I've tried to get TTB approval for Oreo cookie wafers and sent them the ingredients, and there's like no. And so they just sell that one just in the inside state. But and that was for Pipeworks, not for Iswas too. We're not making an Oreo saison, but
not yet.
Like yeah, right. These are things that already at a federal level are
Yeah.
on the books.
And I know
Like,
there's some people that you and I know, Mike, who are genuinely concerned about some of the practices that brewers are using to like halt yeast,
Which
and
things like potassium metabisulfite or something like that, where it's like it literally is meant for killing things, right?
Right.
And it's a carcinogen,
a known,
and
proven carcinogen.
right. And now this is a little judgmental, but the people that are making the beers that they have to do that for are not the type of people that would read up on potassium metabisulfite and the safe levels in the beer. They're more of like, well, it says to use this much on the package, so double that. Like that's the
Because
type-
our cans explode. Because our cans
because
explode.
our cans of this like,
And we're not gonna pasteurize
Are
it.
super juicy kettle sour, whatever.
All right, now you guys are talking my language. Oh, we're getting into this now.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Are we off the?
I think we are.
I think we're
Yeah, we are.
Should we take
Yeah.
a break and get another beer before we get into
I don't know
that?
if we do. We have enough time.
Why don't you send us out? We have time.
Yeah.
We have a solid 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I need another beer.
All right. Why don't we
go to-
take a beer? Let's think about let's get a beer with some potassium.
Let's think about metabisulfite.
Metabisulfite.
That.
Yeah.
And and then we'll be back with more of the Insiders Roundtable. We're back, baby.
And we're back. Welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. It is an actual roundtable today, as you've been listening to. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalhoub. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Quinn.
So that's how I should be saying it. Got it.
I guess. I don't know. We're joined by with Averie Swanson of Keeping Together and Pat Berger of Max and Izzy's Kaiser Tiger, and that's the one, just the two best ones.
It's just two.
The two best places.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were about to get, Pat, you were getting excited about everything that's going into beer these days before we took a break.
Yes, I was. Well, it wasn't part of the topics, but
I think you
Excited
turned your
was a
mic
I think you
Strong
turned your
word.
mic off. Yeah, there's a little switch on it.
sorry.
That's the universe
Am I
telling
back
us
on?
that we
Yeah,
shouldn't
you're
be
back.
talking about this.
The universe isn't always
exactly.
No, it's true. It's not.
Okay. Well, let me just, quick treatsy. I don't like where craft beer has gone. I don't like the complete ignorance of quality control. I don't like that. Look, when we all said like craft beer needs some more inclusive, right? I thought we were talking about like women and people of color, but apparently you all thought that it meant people that don't like the taste of beer. And we don't have to invite those people into craft beer. The people that genuinely don't like beer, that would rather have something that tastes like a pina colada, they have that option at the bar. They can order a pina colada. I mean, maybe not at your tap room. I'm sure the BA will change that soon, so that you can all make pina coladas.
Depends on the
But-
licenses
No,
you have.
Smooch. Smooch makes pina colada.
In the meantime, maybe craft beer should just appeal to people that like beer. And that is not what's being made. And it's not... And then, I wouldn't have that big of a problem with it. I'm not like, they're like, you're against everyone's creativity. Well, look, when you're thinking about your Instagram post for your
Innovative,
beer,
Pat.
before
We've
you're
already been over this.
Throwback.
before you're thinking about like what it's going to taste like, you're not thinking about craft beer. You're not thinking about the quality of the product that you're making. And by the way, we all have to drink this shit. Like it's
don't,
not
though.
it's not just for your Instagram post. We have to consume it. It's an edible product. It's an edible product that is going into our body. It's not an art. And any brewer that's listening to this is like, oh, I'm an artist. I make beer. I'm an artist.
Oh,
You're not a freaking artist, okay? You're not. You're not making art. You're making an edible product. You're not any more an artist than a chef is, okay? You have to put this into your body and consume it and turn it into fuel and shit it out later on. So,
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And, you want to hope that's a solid BM. So, have all of that in mind. It's a science. It's not an art. Brewing is a science.
Once you get the science part down, then you can begin to explore the art side of things. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to or should. I'm not saying that I need to or should. But I do think that there are some creative liberties that people can take that make sense. And then there are a lot of things out there that are just opportunistic and that are not thoughtful.
They
And
all took it too far. I'm
Yeah.
now going straight to Biden. I'm like, look, we got to have a Reinheitsgebot here in America. These people have taken it too far.
Only
I'm
Lenten
bringing
beer.
it down to 4 ingredients, people.
Well, to be totally honest, this is part of like what I mentioned earlier about like you when you talk about regulation and about the different categories having different rules. Like if seltzer and RTDs are going to be a part of the craft beer segment and data is being collected on the sales of these things and it's in the same pool as the data as beer, I don't think that is entirely fair. I don't think it makes sense. That's not beer. I understand that it's made in a brewery, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's beer. And I don't know, I feel like we have an opportunity as leaders in the industry to say, this is a segment of alcohol manufacturing that is novel, and perhaps it deserves its own category and should be regulated in its own category. And if you want to have a license to make seltzer using whatever ingredients you need to make seltzer, then you can get that license. In which point, I agree with the BI in saying that regulation should be much easier for small craft alcohol
Yeah,
manufacturers.
that's going against the BI now. I mean,
No, they say that they want
I'm sure they're
regulation to be
listening.
easier.
The 3 people at the BI might be listening.
Right. Well, I think they would say if there's no regulation, let's keep it that way. Is my guess was what they would say about that. They seem pretty.
Look, I'm not trying to regulate anything. I'm just joking. I'm just saying, think about how things are going to taste. Think about whether or not you're making a healthful product. And
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. At the end of the day, beer has a little bit of poison in it. It's called alcohol. The rest of it can be healthy, and the amount of poison you put in it can be less. And remember that when you're sending something out to the populace.
Yeah, I think it's caught in this insane feedback loop of breweries making insane tasting things because they think people want them, and then people like rating them highly on tap because they were intensely flavorful, but not actually like consumably good.
How do you fix that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's sad to me. And also, there's so many brewers out there who are just saying like, "Oh, it's what the kids like, so we make it for the kid." And like that.
We are legally not allowed to make things for kids.
Right. But it's like that. That's like this to me. It's the most upsetting thing to talk to someone being like, "You left probably a better paying job to open your brewery, and now what you're doing is making things that appeal to children's palates."
Yeah, you're.
Well, that's what they say. I think that's what they say.
But
that's what they say to you.
Right, but the
it's not
chorus
just
the chorus
that.
of beer used to be we make what we like, right? We make what we like and then we sell it to people. And now it's like, well,
Right.
literally people say all the time like the kids like it. Obviously they're joking. They're not selling it to children.
Your exact point is how many times have you heard a brewer say, "Well, I got to pay the bills. I got to make this beer because I have to pay the bills. I have stockholders. I have to, blah 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 blah." That is the most
Sad.
unpassionate. It's just okay. Well, why don't you just go back into IT because there's just no passion with that statement.
I do think that this
go make widgets.
It's beyond beer.
I agree
think
100%.
they were talking about. I was listening to a podcast talk about how the New York Times used to kind of decide what was newsworthy and then disseminate it out, and now they're looking
all the news is
on
fit to print.
Twitter to figure what's the news, what's everyone talking about now, and they're allowing Twitter essentially to
Dictate
whatever
reality.
whatever is trending on Twitter is what they will then report on, and so I think that that's happening in a lot of spaces other than just beer, but it seems to have flipped where it's now people are looking out at social media and deciding this is what people want, this is what I'll make, rather than the other way around, which is what it used to be much more like.
It's harder. It's a lot harder financially to do the things that you actually believe in and then convince people that they should try something that's different than what they think they already want. It's really, really hard.
It's almost like that's craft.
Right, and I think
that is the craft.
The panel you have right now is very engaged with doing that.
Yeah,
the
Brewers Association statement didn't seem to really align with any of that, did it? It's they just want to sell
Says
more
the devil
widgets.
on our shoulder.
They just want to sell more widgets,
right?
And I don't know about you guys. I didn't get into the business I'm in to not want to go to follow everyone else's idea of what I need to do. I got into it to have my own path and be my own boss and try to talk people into what I like. And that used to be this whole ethos of craft beer, and it's not anymore. There's too much. There's too much money in it, and too much. There's too many breweries. So they have to follow the fads to stay in business.
But I would say that
that's
they
sad.
don't all. I mean, the 3 other people in the industry that are sitting here don't do that. All 3 of us are doing things contrary to what everyone says you should do.
We started this episode by talking about how Chris is bringing 3 pallets of Oktoberfest from the Black Forest.
From the Black Forest.
Right.
A $15 per 6-pack.
Right. And so this is like a conversation we've had many times
crazy.
where
No doubt.
I think there are more people doing the things that we love about craft beer than there ever have been.
Yes.
There's just so many other people who have also joined the conversation.
And
that
we're just not as
noise,
loud.
the signal to noise ratio is
Totally.
insane.
Totally.
Like where
That's
there's
been your. You've been saying that for a long time.
and I
Couple
still
years,
I
at
still
least.
believe it's true, but it's like it's one of those things. Like I don't have data on that because my data's mine. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
But
You
it's
gotta
like,
pay for that
But
data.
it just it intuitively seems right to me, and it's now the jobs of us who make those things we really believe in, you guys who curate it, to be even better at it.
to be the beacons that people can kind of come to, the lights that the
mean,
moths will
hopefully.
kind of
Yes.
gravitate to. you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, like and I think there's more people out there than ever who would want to drink those things.
Yeah.
I think
but
you're
there's
probably
also
right.
But there's also more people out there who want to drink. Don't want to drink that. Like there's more
Yeah.
people who identify as people who are into craft beer who have no interest in drinking the things that we make or the things that we care about. And you just kind of have to like accept it and then be like, craft beer is different, but there's still the things that we like about it going on.
I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. Does anyone else need to say anything else before our final words? Does anyone need a final word before our final word?
If you have to put potassium metabisulfite in your beer for it not to blow up, you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be making
Making that
beer,
beer.
period.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be making beer, period.
There
you should
you
have
are.
your TTB permit revoked.
There you are.
And
There you are. I don't even know what that is, but
There you go.
It's a poison.
never asked for
It
it.
is a poison.
It's another
It's
poison.
I think it's a known carcinogen that people are putting in that has safe amounts, but I think some people don't necessarily trust that people know that there are safe amounts and unsafe amounts. So anyway, I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Ben for writing in a letter.
I want to thank Serge for every fucking
For
time.
Putting up with
Yeah.
us.
There you go.
Surge.
He's on page 2 of the curse book now. Fuck him.
That's like a Johnny Depp movie, I think.
Sorry, Serge.
Cursed book.
And I did that too. Well, thanks. It's fun to have the round table every now and again, especially when you can have an all-star curmudgeon like Pat Berger on. So
That's why I don't come on here anymore.
that's awesome.
This is why you need to come on more often.
It's great.
I'm not a curmudgeon in real life. Just when you all start talking about this bullshit about beer.
It's true. You're not.
Honestly, you're
Well, you
my
kind of
favorite
are.
guest.
Same.
Oh, thanks.
Well, there you go.
And I don't even come here all that often.
It was a pleasure to meet you, by the way. I can't believe we never met.
Same. It really is unfair
Oh,
that,
wow, look at that.
it's taken so long.
It is.
Insiders
Well,
Roundtable bringing people
It's-
together.
Yeah.
Truly,
Thank
yeah.
you, Chris.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Mike.
Yeah. And Serge.
Mostly Chris. He does
Oh,
most
yeah.
of the work.
So, anything that you would like to say in closing, Pat? You don't have to.
No. I thank you for coming on. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to, and I did. And
You remembered that it could be fun, right?
yeah.
You chose to do something you didn't think you were going
No,
to
I
enjoy
mean,
with us.
look,
Awesome. I hope that's how every guest of the show feels.
another
I'm gonna
backhanded
have a
compliment
bad-
for you,
Yeah, right.
Chris.
I'm gonna have a bad
I
time
thought this
with
was
you
gonna
guys.
suck, but it was actually okay.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, bud.
Didn't
No.
suck as bad.
Low expectations are the key to happiness.
There's
Exactly.
something to that.
Yeah. It's a good beer name.
How about you, Avery? Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that if you're out there making beer, honor yourself and honor the people that are consuming the things that you're making. Honor the product. Do it with integrity. We're here for a good time, not a long time. We don't want to die from potassium metabisulfite poisoning.
Right. Or too much
Cheers.
glycol.
All right. Well, I think that's...
And thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all the guests. Thanks to my co-host, Mike, and Fade Master Serge, who's getting ready for his favorite part of the show, the
When it
final
ends.
fade. And we'll be back next week. We got to figure out what the format's going to be, Mike. So
No,
we'll
we have
talk
these
about
planned
that.
out for months, guys.
We did.
Definitely not.
But it's been months now, so we have to reset.
Oh yeah, I got a call like 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We will see you next week for more of the, well, not Insiders Roundtable, but something. We'll be back. See you guys.
Remember, this is what we want. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, again,